a U.S. official familiar with the matter telling me that this soldier was a part of a private tour who was there at the border between South and North Korea. And as it was described to me, while on the tour, he broke away from the group and ran into North Korea. What more do we know about the circumstances here?
I have a little bit more information just now from a senior administration official. So this soldier, Army soldier, had apparently violated some part, as you say, of the Joint Security Agreement. He had completed his punishment for that. I'm not sure exactly in what terms, but he had completed his punishment and was leaving South Korea. He was escorted by the military to Incheon Airport, which is the commercial airport. Apparently, that's about 60 miles from the DMZ. And he was not in handcuffs, was not escorted by military police, importantly. So he was not under guard, technically, but he was escorted by the military from his unit. Got to Incheon. They took him as far as they could, which was not to the gate. He then left, joined the commercial tour, and went to Panmunjom, which is that area where in the middle of the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, I've been there many times, you have the buildings in that joint security area where literally the South and the North are face to face, and you are right face to face with the North Korean soldiers. So he then bolted across. That would not be difficult to do. And I am told that the administration, military most likely, the joint security officials there, did communicate with Pyongyang, with their counterparts, when this happened in the early hours of this morning, Korean time. They did communicate that this was willful, but that he was not an aggressor, that he was not under any orders to do this, that it was on his own. And they have still not, they heard back, they heard confirmation that this was not an aggressive action from the North, but have not heard anything more about this man in custody. So, you know, that's the latest on what we know, that he'd completed his punishment and was supposed to be heading home, and clearly didn't want to do that, joined the commercial tour. And that is the one area. So it's not a border between North and South. Technically, it's the DMZ, right? You know, which is, of course, the demilitarized, the no man's land. But he is in North Korean custody.
Hey, Kira, I want to bring you into this conversation quickly. Kind of take us to the DMZ here for a second, for those, which is almost everybody in the globe who has not been there. As Andrea notes, this is where you have South Korean and North Korean forces literally staring at each other. We always see the images of the guys with the binoculars looking just across the border and back. But it wouldn't be hard, were someone to willfully choose to do this, to just cross the border. The challenge is, how do you reconcile that circumstance between two countries that don't communicate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating thing, really, when you think about it, because it's described as, you know, the most tense place in the world, and yet you have these tourism, actually, where you can go visit and you can see the room where negotiations took place after the Korean War. So, yeah, it is something that if you take a trip to South Korea, you know, you can go and do. Now, as you mentioned, I've been to the other side, to the North Korean side. It is a few hours drive from memory from Pyongyang through kind of countryside. I mean, a very different place, of course, from South Korea, not developed. So where he is now will be an interesting question. It wouldn't take long for them to move him quite quickly once they kind of got hold of him. I do think that moment of heading across the line will have, I mean, quite stunning, because as you say, it's being watched very closely, and we saw, folks will remember, back 2017 when a North Korean soldier ran across the line in the other direction to South Korea, was shot by his comrades, if you like, his North Korean comrades, was on the ground, had to be dragged to safety by the South Koreans across that line from, you know, through the DMZ. So the risk at that moment of taking that, making that break and going across that line, it's kind of hard to get your head around, and, you know, raises questions about exactly what was in this person's mind. I mean, that's one of the big questions, isn't it? The mystery of why he has done this, as well as, of course, where he is now and what happens next. You know, clearly, Washington will be working very hard to try and figure out how to get him back.